All right, this video is how to create this kaleidoscope project. The first part is you are going to take a square of paper. The size I'm working on is 12 by 12 inches, but it could work with a smaller square or larger square. The first step is that you're going to fold the square in half, which will make a rectangle, and then fold that rectangle in half, turning it back into a square. Line up your corners the best you can, especially where they're folded here, this creased edge. I even go over with my nail and I kind of burnish this edge, or like the back of your nail if you have really short nails, to make sure you have a really sharp fold. Then you're going to open that paper up, and then you're going to turn it like a diamond in front of you and fold the bottom corner up to meet the top. Make sure and perfectly line up those corners. You know, maybe even more important is like to line up the edges. All right, let's see how that lines up. I think that lines up pretty well. It's a little off on these edges, but as long as it's like divided in half in the center, see how that goes right through the middle of that X? I think that's the most important thing. So I'm kind of lining up these folds. Now what I'm gonna do is once more, I'm gonna line up like this edge with this edge, and then I'm going to try and line up these two folds, because really the outside edge of the paper, even if it's a little bit off, doesn't make much of a difference. But as long as those inside corners and things are lined up, that's where the big difference is going to come in. Okay, so I can feel that these folds are lined up, these edges are lined up. All right, now I'm going to open up. You should end up with 8 triangles. And then you are going to take one of those 8 triangles and, let me pause you for a sec. So you're going to take those triangles and you're going to do a very intricate design in one of these triangles, just one. So bam, here's my intricate design. Then what I'm going to do with this intricate design is I'm going to trace over it very dark, because we're going to be doing something called a pencil transfer. So a pencil transfer is when you take graphite from the surface of a paper like it is here, that's just pencil lead, and you stamp it on another area to make something symmetrical, or just to repeat whatever design you want repeated. So I'm going to trace over all this really dark, and then after I've traced over it really dark, I'm going to transfer the whole design to the triangle next to it, okay? I mean, I suppose you could transfer it over here. To me, it makes more sense to transfer to one that's like located next door. Then what you're going to do is get a hard plastic object. Sorry, I'm grabbing a hard plastic object. Like the bottom edge of a marker, or like a washable marker, or a glue stick. You just need something hard and plastic. Then you're going to fold this paper. Basically, you just want this surface to be touching any other blank triangle on the paper. And if it's touching a blank triangle, then you're doing it right. So see, this guy right here is touching that blank one. Then you're going to take like the corner of your hard plastic object and just rub really hard on the back of the paper. I'm not going to transfer the whole thing. I'm just going to do one little area here. But you can already see my design starting to transfer. And these lines really aren't even that dark, and they're already transferring beautifully. So I'm going to fold this guy over again, keep transferring, until you can see the whole design repeated perfectly over here, and until you can see it well enough to trace it in pencil. That's when you know you're done, okay? Now this whole corner is actually going to be transferred again. So as soon as I get a grasp on it and I'm like, yep, I know this is in the right place, then I'm going to go in, I'm going to trace over this side dark as well. If anything over here needs to be darker, I'll do that now, because the darker the lines are, the easier they transfer. And then after I have the whole thing traced over dark, I'll fold the entire square, because now these 2 triangles make up a square. I'll fold this over, and I'll transfer 2 squares at once, okay? And then eventually I'll take the whole half of the paper and transfer until all triangles have a design in there. This one is a little bit further along than the one I was just doing, so that you can see that anything that touches this center line here or this line here turns into a mirror image of that shape. So like the ones on the edge, they just look exactly the same when you transfer them. But these shapes along this fold, they double over and they become a symmetrical shape, which looks pretty cool.